Did you know that the UK's economy is actually smaller today than it was in 2016, despite the headlines about growth? Shocking, right? And the truth is, the real reasons behind the UK's recession aren't what you think. It's not just about global events or bad luck. There are hidden forces at play, forces that are quietly sinking the economy deeper into trouble. And the scariest part? Most people have no idea how these factors are affecting their everyday lives. But what if I told you that Brexit, a housing crisis, and even political chaos are just the tip of the iceberg? Behind the scenes, there are other factors shaping the economy that most media outlets aren't even talking about. Some of them have been building for decades. Others, they're happening right now, and they could change the way you see the economy forever. Now imagine this. What if you could understand exactly why the UK is struggling, and what you can do to not just survive but thrive in these uncertain times? Stay with us, because in the next few minutes we're going to uncover 10 hidden reasons that are driving the UK's recession, things you've never heard before. Trust me, this is one video you don't want to miss. Number 1. The real cost of Brexit. Let's kick things off with Brexit, the most obvious but often misunderstood cause of the UK's recession. We've all heard about trade deals, border issues, and immigration laws, but the real cost of Brexit goes much deeper, and it's not just about the immediate effects on businesses. Did you know that the UK's economy is 4% smaller than it would have been if it had stayed in the European Union? This isn't just some number from a political debate. It's a tangible loss that affects us all. Here's where it gets interesting. Brexit has sparked a massive wave of bureaucracy. Small businesses are drowning in extra paperwork. Customs delays have caused huge disruptions, and many companies simply can't get the workers they need anymore. Highly skilled professionals, especially in industries like tech, healthcare, and agriculture, are leaving the UK for better opportunities in Europe. In fact, studies show that over 200,000 EU nationals have already left, contributing to the UK's ongoing skills shortage. But the worst part, the ripple effects from Brexit go beyond just trade or jobs. Investor confidence has taken a huge hit. With the future uncertain, fewer global investors are willing to put money into the UK. This means fewer jobs, lower wages, and slower economic growth. So next time you hear someone say, Brexit won't affect us long term, remember this. The true cost of leaving the EU isn't just economic, it's structural, and it's going to take years to fix. Number 2. Chronic underinvestment in infrastructure. Let's talk about something that affects nearly every aspect of daily life: infrastructure. The UK is decades behind when it comes to updating and investing in the very systems that keep the country running smoothly. Roads are crumbling, public transport is outdated, and broadband access is still shockingly poor in many rural areas. The lack of investment in these critical areas is one of the silent killers of economic growth. Picture this. Your business relies on fast and reliable internet, but in certain parts of the UK, you might still be dealing with slow, unreliable connections. Or think about the hours you lose in traffic because roads are congested and poorly maintained. According to the Institute for Public Policy Research, the UK's infrastructure spending is now at an all-time low, which means that businesses can't operate efficiently, workers can't travel quickly, and companies are left struggling with high costs. But here's the kicker. The government's failure to modernise infrastructure has a snowball effect. Innovation slows down, companies delay expansions, and foreign investments start to look elsewhere. Countries with top-tier infrastructure become the preferred destinations for businesses, leaving the UK behind in the race for global success. So, how does this affect you directly? If you're an entrepreneur, a commuter, or even just someone trying to get things done faster, the hidden costs of poor infrastructure are felt every day. If we want to fix the UK's recession, modernising our infrastructure should be at the top of the priority list. Number 3. Manufacturing, the untold decline. Here's a truth that's often overlooked. The decline of the UK's manufacturing sector is one of the biggest reasons behind the country's economic struggles. Once the backbone of the UK economy, manufacturing has been in steady decline for decades. In the 1970s, it accounted for over 30% of the GDP. By 2020, that number had dropped to just 10%. But the real cost of this loss goes beyond just a decrease in factory jobs. It's a deeply rooted structural problem that's impacting the whole economy. As industries like steel, textiles, and electronics left the UK, entire towns and regions that once thrived around these factories saw massive job losses, leading to widespread economic stagnation. What's even more concerning is the skills gap that has formed. With fewer manufacturing jobs available, many skilled workers, like machinists, engineers, and technicians, had to retrain or leave the industry. The result? A shrinking pool of talent in one of the most vital sectors for future economic growth. But it's not just about jobs. Manufacturing is the engine of innovation. It drives new technologies, creates new products, and leads to higher productivity. Without a strong manufacturing base, the UK has become over-reliant on services and financial industries, which, while lucrative, don't offer the same level of economic stability. The real issue here? The UK has no clear plan to revitalise its manufacturing sector. Without it, the economy will continue to limp along, unable to keep up with the rapid changes happening globally. We've put a lot of effort into bringing you the truth behind the UK's recession, and we'd love to hear what you think. What do you believe is the biggest factor holding the UK back? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get the conversation started. And hey, subscribing is just one click, so make sure you hit that button to stay updated with more deep dives like this. Number 4. The global supply chain nightmare. Here's a hidden truth that's been silently strangling the UK's economy. Global supply chain disruptions. Whether it's because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the ongoing war in Ukraine, or other geopolitical tensions, the supply chains that the UK relies on are more fragile than ever. And it's not just about empty shelves at your local store, it's about the core of economic activity grinding to a halt. Think about it. The UK relies on smooth global logistics for almost everything: food, electronics, raw materials, you name it. But with major disruptions in shipping routes, factory shutdowns, and labour shortages, the cost of getting goods has soared. The result? Higher prices on everyday products, delays in manufacturing, and frustrated businesses that can't get what they need to keep running smoothly. But here's the real kicker. These disruptions are not temporary. They are reshaping how businesses operate, and many companies are still struggling to adjust. Even sectors that seem immune, like technology and finance, are being affected. For example, the chip shortage has made everything from cars to smartphones harder to get. For businesses, this means higher production costs and a shrinking ability to meet customer demand. For consumers, it means prices continue to rise, diminishing purchasing power and affecting overall economic growth. So what can you do? If you're running a business, diversifying suppliers and building a local supply chain might be your best bet to weather this storm. Number 5. Housing crisis and its impact on the economy. The UK's housing crisis isn't just about overpriced homes and skyrocketing rents, it's a deeply embedded economic problem that's fueling the recession. At its core, the housing market isn't just about where people live, it's about where the money flows. For years, house prices have been climbing faster than wages, pushing home ownership further out of reach for millions of young people. And as the property ladder gets harder to climb, it starts affecting the entire economy in ways many don't realise. For one, the lack of affordable housing means that younger generations are stuck in rental properties longer, unable to build equity or invest in other opportunities. That means they're spending more on rent and less on goods and services. The spending power of an entire generation is being drained, and that's a serious problem for an economy that relies on consumption to grow. But the issue doesn't stop there. The housing market has become overheated, with property values reaching unsustainable levels. While some see it as a way to build wealth, others see it as a bubble waiting to burst. If the housing market crashes, it could cause a widespread financial crisis, impacting everything from pensions to household savings. Here's the hard truth: the UK economy is too reliant on the housing market for growth. This makes it vulnerable to major shocks that can send shockwaves through the entire economy. Until the housing crisis is addressed, the UK's economic problems will only worsen. Number 6. Low productivity growth. Let's talk about one of the UK's most frustrating yet underestimated problems: low productivity growth. It's a problem that's quietly eroding the economy, yet hardly anyone talks about it. Simply put, productivity is about how much a worker can produce in a given amount of time. And when productivity is low, it means less output, lower wages, and a slower economy. The shocking truth is that the UK's productivity has been lagging behind other advanced economies for years. Despite technological advances and a shift toward digital industries, the UK's workforce is not getting more efficient. According to the Bank of England, UK productivity growth has been at an all-time low. This isn't just about workers being lazy, it's about systemic inefficiencies. From outdated machinery to a lack of employee training, there are numerous factors that are holding businesses back from reaching their full potential. But here's the kicker: low productivity directly impacts wages. If workers aren't producing more, they aren't getting paid more, and that means consumers don't have the spending power needed to drive the economy. And it's not just individual workers who suffer. Businesses struggle to remain competitive without the ability to scale efficiently. So, what's the solution? Companies need to embrace innovation, invest in employee development, and rethink how they operate. Whether it's adopting new technologies or improving workplace culture, improving productivity is the key to unlocking growth for both businesses and the UK economy as a whole. Number 7. Aging population. The hidden burden. Here's a truth that's often ignored but can no longer be swept under the rug. The UK is facing a massive demographic shift. The population is aging at an alarming rate, and it's placing an invisible burden on the economy. By 2040, 1 in 4 people will be over the age of 65. That's a significant increase, and it's going to have far-reaching consequences that you might not even realise. The first problem is that an ageing population means more people relying on pensions and healthcare. The government's spending on social care, healthcare services, and pensions is set to increase dramatically as the baby boomer generation reaches retirement age. With fewer younger workers entering the workforce, there's simply not enough tax revenue being generated to support this growing demand. But that's not all. An older workforce can also lead to a slower rate of innovation. With fewer younger people driving industries like technology and engineering, there's a risk that the UK could fall behind in the global race for new ideas and advancements. What does this mean for you? If you're in your 20s or 30s, the burden of supporting an aging population may fall on your shoulders. You might face higher taxes, reduced public services, and a weakened economy as resources get stretched thin. The solution? The UK needs to prioritise policies that not only support older generations, but also encourage a younger, more dynamic workforce. Without this balance, the economy will continue to feel the strain. Number 8. Inflation's silent hit on the economy. Let's dive into one of the most pressing issues that's quietly draining the UK's economic strength: inflation. While it may seem like just another buzzword, inflation is a silent economic force that impacts every aspect of our daily lives, from the price of your morning coffee to the cost of your energy bill, and it's hitting harder than ever before. Right now, the UK is experiencing a cost of living crisis. Prices on everything, food, fuel, rent, are rising at a rate that's outpacing wage growth. That means, even though people are working harder, they're actually losing purchasing power. Your paycheck might look the same, but it buys you less than it did a year ago. In fact, real wages have been stagnant for years, and inflation is making it even worse. But inflation isn't just a personal issue, It's a systemic problem. When prices rise, consumers naturally pull back on spending. Businesses suffer too, as costs go up across the board, but they can't always pass those costs on to customers. This creates a cycle of economic stagnation, where people spend less, businesses earn less, and the economy as a whole slows down. Here's the twist. Inflation doesn't just affect households, it affects entire industries. High costs lead to supply chain disruptions, slower production, and reduced output. If the UK doesn't tackle inflation soon, it could continue to be a silent killer of economic growth. So what can you do? For individuals, it's important to hedge against inflation by exploring investment options and reducing unnecessary spending. For businesses, it's time to focus on efficiency and cost management. Number 9. Political instability and lack of direction. One of the most overlooked factors contributing to the UK's recession is political instability. Over the past few years, the UK has been trapped in a cycle of leadership changes, shifting policies, and uncertainty. Whether it's the fallout from Brexit, constant changes in government leadership, or confusing economic policies, this ongoing political chaos has created a climate where businesses and investors simply can't plan for the future. When there's no clear direction from the government, confidence plummets. Companies hesitate to invest, knowing that policy shifts could drastically change the business landscape overnight. It's like trying to build a house on shifting sand. You don't know where to put your resources because you don't know what's coming next. Take a moment to think about it. When there's political instability, industries struggle to make long-term plans. Foreign investors shy away, and businesses that rely on stable economic policies find themselves struggling to adapt. In fact, uncertainty is one of the biggest deterrents for investment. Investors want predictability, and right now, the UK can't offer that. So how does this affect you? Consumers start to lose confidence too. People tighten their belts, delaying major purchases and investments, which creates a domino effect that impacts the entire economy. What's the solution? The UK needs a strong, consistent government that can provide clarity and stability. Until this happens, political uncertainty will continue to hinder economic growth. Number 10. Over-reliance on financial services. Finally, let's talk about the UK's over-reliance on financial services and why it's a ticking time bomb for the economy. For decades, the UK has leaned heavily on its financial sector as the main driver of economic growth. While the City of London is one of the world's financial hubs, this overdependence has created a dangerous imbalance in the economy. Here's the issue. Financial services provide huge profits, but they don't generate the same long-term value as industries like manufacturing or technology. Financial markets are driven by speculation, not by producing tangible goods or services. When the global financial markets crash or slow down, the whole economy feels the shock. The 2008 financial crisis is a prime example. The financial sector's collapse sent the UK economy into a tailspin, and we're still feeling the after effects today. But the bigger risk is that the UK's economy has become too reliant on an industry that is volatile and unstable. This means that when global markets face turbulence, the UK's economic growth slows to a crawl, and unemployment can spike. Meanwhile, industries that could provide more stable and sustainable growth, like manufacturing, technology, and innovation, are often left behind. What does this mean for you? If the financial sector stumbles again, it could lead to job losses, higher taxes, and a slower economy. To avoid another crash, the UK needs to diversify its economy and focus on building resilient sectors that can thrive in the long run. So there you have it, the 10 hidden reasons behind the UK's recession. From the long-term impacts of Brexit, to underinvestment in infrastructure, to the silent drag of an ageing population, it's clear that the UK's economy faces a web of deep-rooted challenges. These aren't issues that can be solved overnight, and unfortunately, many of them have been building up for years. But here's the thing. Knowledge is power. By understanding these hidden forces, we can start to see the bigger picture, and more importantly, how we can navigate these turbulent times. If you've been feeling uncertain about the future or wondering why the economy isn't bouncing back like it should, now you know there's more at play than what's being talked about in the headlines. But don't worry, we're not leaving you hanging. There's hope. The road ahead may be tough, but by addressing these issues head on, the UK can still pull through. So stick around, because in the next section, we're going to talk about practical solutions that can help not only the economy recover, but help you, personally, thrive in these changing times. So how do we turn this situation around? While these challenges may seem overwhelming, there are real solutions. First, investment in infrastructure is crucial. The UK must prioritise modernising its transport systems, digital networks, and energy grids. These upgrades will boost productivity, create jobs, and make businesses more efficient. The government needs to treat infrastructure as the foundation for long-term economic growth. Next, the UK needs to diversify its economy. Too much reliance on financial services leaves the nation vulnerable to global shocks. By reinvesting in manufacturing, technology, and innovation, the UK can create a more balanced and resilient economy. Another key step is addressing the skills gap. The UK needs to invest in education and vocational training, especially in technology, engineering, and skilled trades, so that future generations can fill the gaps left by the decline in traditional industries. Lastly, the UK needs political stability. Consistent, clear policies will help businesses plan for the future and, in turn, attract more investment. This will provide the confidence needed for growth. It won't be easy, but with the right focus and effort, the UK can rebuild a stronger, more sustainable economy for everyone. The time to act is now. And hey, before you go, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What stood out to you? What should we explore next? If you haven't seen our last video yet, you're missing out. Go check it out now. We pour heart, soul, and hours into every frame, so if you enjoyed this, hit that subscribe button. Just one click. Your support keeps us going and helps us bring even more value your way.